Hello and welcome to this week's VAR on Air. My name is Peter Vu. I'm one of VAR's interns again for another segment. This segment will actually be with Kevin Vinh Nguyen, and it's about our upcoming Vietnamese American Candidate Forum. And Kevin will actually be the moderator for this forum, so it's a super cool opportunity to be here interviewing him and talking with him. And I'll pass it on to Jay.
Hello, guys. I'm Jana Nguyen, and I'm also a bar intern. And I'm really grateful that you're here today with us, Kevin, because I'm super interested in hearing more about these candidates since I haven't really been involved, at least politically, within or San Jose's political environment. Or Santa Clara. So I'm really interested in hearing more. And I'll just pass it on to Cassie really quickly.
Hi, my name is Cassie, and I'm also very excited to hear about this Vietnamese Candidate Forum. So, Kevin, could you please introduce yourself before we dive into some more questions?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. So yeah, my name's Kevin Wing, not the meme. Trying to actively disassociate from the Kevin Nguyen meme. But yeah, no, I'm a lifelong San Jose resident. So the candidate forum that we're hosting this weekend is really important to me. But I'm currently a business journalist at the San Francisco Standard. So I write about how the region is changing through the lens of real estate. And yeah, a lot of other things in the region as well.
Thank you for the introduction and your time this evening, Kevin. But since we're here today to learn more about you and the forum, could you tell us more about this upcoming Vietnamese American Community Forum? Why is it being held, and when and where will it be held?
Yeah, great question, Jay. So we are hosting candidates competing in two of the most high-profile races here in the South Bay. And of course, we all know the November election is, just a little over 2 months away. So this will be a great chance to hear from these candidates, not only how they intend to serve the community, but also like how they differentiate from each other. The thing with local races is that oftentimes, unless it's targeted ads on social media, you're not really hearing them or seeing them compete in this format often, if not at all, right? We tend to see maybe the presidential debate, most people speaking. So anyways, we'll be hosting them for a 3-hour conversation at Yerba Buena High School on Saturday, August 24th, from 1 to 4 p.m. And the candidates will not only be fielding questions from me, but also you guys, the audience. So please, we can accommodate hundreds of people. Peter, I believe you go to YB. You can tell us if that's true, right? But yeah, we're expecting a really great turnout, and this race is going to be really interesting too, which we can get to.
Yeah, so like Kevin said, the venue, yeah, should be fielding a couple hundred people. Yeah. So with that, I'll transition into the next question.
Is it inside the gym, Peter? Is it going to be at the
Oh,
football field?
sorry.
What is it going
Yeah.
to be?
So the forum will be held at the Student Union.
Nice.
It's there's two parking lots. You can enter from either the gym parking lot or the Student Union parking lot. And we'll most likely have signs that will be pointing you towards the direction of the Student Union. It's this big glass building that's towards the edge of campus, and it's really nice. And yeah. Okay,
Great.
sorry. And transitioning into the next question for you, Kevin. Who are some of the local Vietnamese American candidates that will be participating in this forum? And what unique perspectives do you think Vietnamese American candidates bring to public office?
Yeah, so this upcoming election is, in particular for our community, is headlined by two Vietnamese women, Madison Nguyen and Betty Duong, who are running for the county supervisor seat in District 2. So Santa Clara County encompasses multiple cities in the South Bay, and District 2 covers most of central San Jose. Madison is really well known in local politics, having been the first Vietnamese American person elected to the city council at the age of 30. This is in the 2000s when I think you guys were all born. And Betty herself, comes from like the generation slightly after Madison. And, while this is her first time running for public office, she's actually been really involved in local politics. She's actually the chief of staff for the existing supervisor here in District 2, Cindy Chavez. And she's been involved in activism in terms of housing, and she's also a licensed lawyer who's started her career in the public defender's office. So both of these women are super smart, really experienced, really qualified, and it's just going to be, and they both speak like flawless Vietnamese, which I'm sure you guys can attest to is like really difficult for everyone under their generation to do and to connect to those voters. So I'm going to be super interested in how they really differentiate themselves from each other, because again, had only one or the other been competing, you can make a strong case that they would win by a lot. So yeah, that's how it informs what they might bring to public office.
So I think it's really cool that this forum is being held on a high school campus. I think it makes it really accessible for high schoolers or just anyone who wants to become more involved or learn more about politics, be able to. So can you tell us more about how you became a moderator for this event? And as being a moderator, what's your approach for ensuring a fair and informative discussion?
Yeah, there's no sexy story for your first part of the question, Cassie. I happen to know the people at the Vietnamese American Roundtable, and I guess a journalist is always kind of naturally a good fit to moderate these things. We tend to do our homework if we do our jobs right, and we're used to dealing with politicians. So that's how I got involved. And as for my approach, I think if the two pillars you mentioned are being fair and informative, I think that just means, staying true to time, making sure that everyone gets the, same amount of time as much as you can at these events. Of course, there's always going to be, a little bit of jockeying, and you might see some candidates speaking out of turn or interrupting each other. But you try to stick to the time. And to make sure it's informative, I think I will try to push them on their records and policy. Oftentimes, when people are in campaign season, they might, stick to their talking points or their personal story. I think in this forum, since we have so much time, I'm going to try and, push them a little more on substance.
Okay, so I know that in the beginning I kind of mentioned or alluded towards my lack of experience with San Jose's political landscape. And so this is, I believe, the first, or at least for me, since since I was born, this is the first time there are two Vietnamese candidates running, or maybe this is of all time. Even I'm not well informed on that. So I think it's really awesome that you guys are hosting this forum. And like Cassie mentioned, making it very accessible since it's in a high school. And so I'm interested in hearing your own thoughts on why events such as these are important for the Vietnamese community. How can they help Vietnamese Americans make informed voting decisions as opposed to using typical mainstream media resources online?
Yeah, I think, Jay, to the last part of your question is, despite Asian Americans making up over a third of the county's population in this region, which I think we can all personally attest to in our, walks of life, it's, the community is still not by and large served by mainstream media, right? So you're not going to flip on local television and find a D2 debate really easily anymore. So in that sense, outside of the generic, it's good to be an informed voter reasons, I think that's why events like these are important. It's that the voters really, who in this case, the Vietnamese voters who know that they have a huge say in the results. This is them really, taking it into their own hands and holding their leaders to account, right? So these people say they want to serve the community. This is our chance to really talk to them on stage and, again, understand how they're different from each other. Whereas maybe most households might only meet either candidate if they walk up and knock on your door, right? And they're not going to do that together. So
All right. Yeah, thank you for all of that information about the candidate forum and the importance of a candidate forum like this for the Vietnamese community and for just the Asian community in general in San Jose. So I wanted to shift the focus of this segment to more about you. So I want to ask the question of what inspired you to pursue a career in writing and journalism, And how does your Vietnamese identity influence your work and perspective as a writer and reporter?
Thanks for that question, Peter. I wish I had a more glamorous tale, but it's no more elaborate than I was just inspired by seeing other people who looked like me do it before. So I was talking to you guys offline before we started taping that, I'm super proud that a San Jose native, Viet Thanh Nguyen, is, a Pulitzer Prize winning author from San Jose. So, I mean, that's stuff like that, right? So really, it was just me pursuing a craft that has affected me or moved me deeply in life, and I wanted to participate in that conversation. So, how does my Vietnamese identity influence my work? Yeah, I mean, it's being a child of refugees informs a lot of things in my life, right? I'm the first to pursue certain opportunities that my parents couldn't. I am, more empathetic to the immigrant experience. I speak, seventh grade Vietnamese, so that's better than my non-Vietnamese colleagues who need to go report on these stories. So, yeah, it just makes me more empathetic and understanding of the immigrant experience, which is the story of America as well.
So, given your background and your emphasis on being informed in local events, what advice would you give to young Vietnamese Americans interested in pursuing a career in journalism or writing?
uh, this is an advice given to most aspiring journalists, since it's like a really hard life and there are increasingly less opportunities. But um, only pursue it if it's something you like. I'm forgetting the exact quote, but like, don't pursue it if you don't have to, because there are better ways to make a living in this world. But if journalism and writing is something at your core, like it was for me, and I suspect other authors or writers, if it's something at your core that you have to do, then do it, and just know that it's going to be really hard, but just do it. And when I say do it, that means don't just talk about wanting to be a writer. Just do it every day, even if no one's reading it, even if it's for nobody. Just do it every day, because that's the only way you get better. Because the gap between a professional and just like a hobby is wide, and you need to close that gap just through practicing all the time.
And
Uh,
as you mentioned, oh,
Sorry. Yeah. And yeah, like as you mentioned, like don't pursue journalism unless it's like something you want to do and it is a passion. So can I ask, like during your journey of getting into journalism, can you share any challenges that you might have faced just getting into journalism and also being a Vietnamese American in your profession?
Yeah, I think Vietnamese Americans share the struggle with any person of color, really, in the industry, in that it is a white male-dominated industry for a really long time. So that's just going to be the elephant in the room that you have to address, and that's like flattening out in a lot of professions, maybe, depending on who you ask. But I think that's kind of the biggest challenge, is, yeah, really getting in front of the right people and proving that you are deserving of a certain opportunity. So yeah, I mean, I don't think that's unique to being a Vietnamese American. I think that's unique to a lot of people of color, and that's why you hear like DEI and like diversity efforts really be taken seriously for the first time in like ever. Because yeah, it took us decades to kind of dig into these holes, and now, yeah, again, I'm not the first. There are people before me who have like opened these doors, and like whose shoulders I stand on. So yeah, that's just the biggest challenge, is, yeah, trying to, yeah, create your opportunity or get opportunities without having like the advantages that let's just say white people have.
So earlier you mentioned, I believe it was Viet Thanh Nguyen or Nguyen, sorry, Jesus. I was wondering what your thoughts are on how the representation of Vietnamese Americans in media has changed over time, whether through like literature or like journalism, I guess, would be most relevant for you.
Yeah, it's obviously for the broad public, it changed a lot when Viet won his Pulitzer Prize, and then now seeing his because then now seeing his book adapted to a show too, so that helps kind of change the narrative nationwide. But yeah, I will say that so to answer your question, Jay, it's slowly gotten smarter and more nuanced. I think if you don't have to go back too far in war movies or historical movies to see kind of all of our narratives really flattened into stereotypes and a certain type of point of view about how that war, the Vietnam War, is remembered, and the immigrant experience. So, but it's not only Viet. There are like a litany of other authors, who were publishing in the late 80s, 90s, 2000s, who were speaking the truth the whole time. And it just kind of, I don't know, maybe because of the expansion of Asian American studies or social media, that we're starting to like share their work with each other more, and like communities like Vietnamese American Roundtable, right? Because they're not taught in schools. The sympathizer maybe now if you go to college, but yeah. So I think it's getting better. I'm not sure if I answered your question, but it's yeah. It used to be flattened into stereotypes, and now at least there's nuance. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for your time this evening, Kevin, Peter, and Cassie. So to quickly recap over what we went over, the Vietnamese American Forum or Community Forum will be happening on Saturday, August 24th at Yerba Buena High School from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Student Union. And it'll mainly be centered around Madison, Nguyen, and Betty Yung, if that's correct, Peter.
Yeah. So Madison Nguyen and Betty Yung are the only two confirmed candidates to be making a live appearance, but we are currently reaching out to try to get pre-recorded questions answered by the other candidates from the other races. So we have Sam Liccardo and Evan Lowe from California's 16th Congressional District, and also San Jose District 8 with Duong and Domingo Candelas. Yeah. So with that, I think everything is good. And unless Kevin, Cassie, or Jay have any other words, I think we are good here. All right. Thank you. Sorry.
Be there or be square.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for sharing your evening with us, Kevin.
Thank you, guys.
All right.